So I started this business a long time ago. I gave my first lesson when I was 16. My dad was a club pro, and I felt like I had like the most amazing start as it relates to coaching. When I was in college, I got a chance to spend some time with the Golf Digest schools. And then I'm in, my early 20s, and I got a job with Dave Pelz out in California, and I'm getting to meet all these tour pros. From there, I went on to work for Golf Digest, which was like my dream job at the time. And a couple of years into our new learning center project, I show up to work one morning, and it's got the doors closed, the board's up on the windows, and it's closed for business. They had new leadership up at Golf Digest, and they decided to close down that project. So it's the middle of the winter in New Jersey. And for the first time in my life, I am actually unemployed. Golf Digest had nowhere else to send me. So I actually had to stand in about a foot of snow in Trenton, New Jersey in the middle of winter to collect an unemployment check. I mean, that was a definite low point. And I didn't have anywhere else to graduate to. I was sending resumes to every single top coach, every single golf school, wasn't getting any response at all. I go down to the PGA show and I meet a top coach out on the West Coast, and he goes, "You know what, I want you to be my director of instruction." So I figured, like, man, I'm finally crawling out of this hole. I go out to California. I put literally my last dime on a 2-bedroom apartment to live out there. I went back to New Jersey, and I never heard from that coach again. I called every single day for 3 months, and finally his secretary called me and said, "We're so sorry, there's no longer a job available." So I was in a bad spot, and I really questioned why I even got into this business. And then I moved out to the San Francisco area, and it didn't get any better. I was working at a range that was about 120 yards, straight uphill, where you could buy a bucket of balls for $2 and a mountain of nachos for 50 cents. And it just kept getting worse. And I moved to Arizona, and I finally found a place to teach, and I spent a couple bucks on one of those A-frame boards, and I said, "Jeff Ritter Golf, open for business," and no one showed up. And that was another low point. And honestly, I felt like I had a lot of great training, and I only knew golf and I only loved golf. And it wasn't until I started changing my mindset around what I was doing and how I was doing it that things started to move in a more positive direction. A lot of that started with meeting a guy named Chris Doris, who's now part of Make the Turn. He's our mental toughness trainer. And it really came down to doing some of these exercises, stretching my imagination, and not falling into what we call the victim's mentality, where I realized that my ultimate trajectory in life was going to be squarely rooted on the quality of my thinking. And that's sort of where the mindset aspect of Make the Turn really started.
Okay, so here's my question. How long did you stick with it? Like those low years, how long were, Seth Godin wrote that book and he calls it the dip, right? How long was that for you?
It was a number of years. I mean, there were a couple of years where I was doing okay, but I wasn't inspired about what I was doing. I was just trying to, cram as many lessons as I could in my lesson book, but I really wasn't excited about where I was, what I was doing, how I was spending my days. I really felt like there was a really low ceiling in terms of what my future offered, and that was what was really scary, because when you grow up reading Golf Digest magazine and people like Jim Flick are on the cover, that's just who you dream about becoming, and it just seemed like that wasn't going to be possible. And as everything was going, really fast in reverse, I started questioning even why I was in the golf business, and not having any training or desire to do anything else. And that was really scary stuff. So I'm lucky to have had some people that showed me that what I was doing was valuable, that I could positively impact a person's life. And if you could do those things and be great at it, then you can have a sustainable career doing anything you want. And that's why I stuck with golf, and I'm lucky that I did, because I can't imagine doing anything else.
Well, I mean, everyone goes through that dip, right? No matter how good you are, no matter where you're at, there's going to be a time of struggle. But in that dip, you have to push forward every day. Martin Hall, I had this quote in this conversation I had with him about better today than yesterday, or is it better tomorrow than today? Something like that. You get the point, is that you're pushing forward every day, right? You're not just content where you're at. You're not just content giving the same lesson or being the same person with the same knowledge base, but you're growing constantly. And as long as you're growing, even in that dip, you're going to be making progress. And eventually there is going to be something that happens for you if you keep pushing forward. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that obviously you kept pushing, Jeff. You didn't give up, and you didn't just kind of stop and stay where you're at as a person or as a coach.
Well, I'm not sure where I got this quote or saying, but I really rely on this idea that no good work goes unrewarded. I mean, so if you really believe in the quality of what you're doing, and you have people every day that pat you on the back and say, hey, thank you so much for your time, and you always try and upgrade that, and you can only go up. And I think that's the big thing, is
this way?
Is really trying to, let's go.
Fork in the road, Jeff. Which way do we go, right or left?
I think that's the biggest thing, is just kind of believing in that, and also the consistency factor. I mean, success never ever happens on the timeline that you think. But the thing is that when you put in the good work and you keep trying to raise the bar, and you keep chipping away at that imaginary wall, I mean, you start to see some of these little glimpses of possibility and the results you're looking for, but they're never ever on the timeline that you create on a piece of paper. And that's why they say success is never a straight line. You always see these charts online with this squiggly line that goes all around the world, and it ends up at the word success. And that's really true. So you just have to trust that what you're doing is meaningful, and then not put any pressure on the when associated with the what. I think too many people, they invest a couple of $100, or they try and sell a book, or whatever it is, or they try and start a clinic program, and if no one signs up and no one cares, they go, oh, that didn't work. What else? And a lot of times it's nothing else, because they were so knocked down by the fact that the first thing didn't pay off the way they thought, right? That they stopped. But the reality is, when you keep pushing forward, that first thing usually pays off down the line. It just presents itself in a different form than what you thought it would be. There's so many projects that I didn't get paid for. I spent my own money, and people said, why in the heck are you doing that? And then all of a sudden I get calls from different magazines and television stations and places in the world giving me opportunities based on these things that I've created in the past that didn't really derive any sort of profit or worth associated with what I put in, but they definitely delivered at a later date, and that's why I'm glad I always did them.
Yeah, for sure. And one kind of a tidbit on there, bonus tip from Cordy. One thing, when you do launch that program, when you do sell that product and it doesn't work, and you think it's time to quit or whatever, the one thing you should always do is always be talking to your audience, and always be talking to the people that you're trying to sell it to, right? Because if you keep talking and you keep having an open dialogue with those people, you're going to hear what they want it to do. You're going to hear what they're looking for, and you can figure out what they want and change what you're doing to fit that, in a sense, right? Because if you're not talking to your audience and you're not understanding where they're at and what they want, trying to sell people something or trying to launch a program and be successful, it's going to be hard, man. You're playing a lottery with low chance of winning. So that is one thing to do when you're in that dip and you're trying to figure out why something isn't working. What do you think, Jeff? Good tip or not?
That's a good tip.
Okay.
I always take tips from Corey. Why do you think I invited you on this hike? I've got you quarantined for 4 hours to give you all the secrets to, how to turn this life into something.
Yeah, there you go. I'm excited about the projects that Jeff has in the works. People should go follow you on Instagram, Jeff, so they can stay up to date on what you're doing. You shoot lots of good videos and stuff that you're posting off all the time. What's your handle on Instagram? Yeah, we're at MTT Golf, and we got the same handle on Twitter, and we're just making a turn on Facebook. Our website is mttperformance.com, and we also have our blog, mttperformance.com/blog. And a lot of people don't know, but we got hundreds of videos, audio lessons, and stories. We really spend a lot of time on it. We got an incredible team, so anyone who digs kind of what we do or wants to learn more, check out those things. We're definitely trying to post good stuff every day. Jeff does video better than just about anyone. Check out his videos. That is where we came from. The top of that mountain. Made it back. Good conversations. Good times with Jeff Ritter. He's the man.